It's officially official. Dan Quinn is gone as the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator after accepting a job to be the Washington Commanders head coach. And with that move, the Cowboys have a lot to figure out defensively moving forward. We always knew that this was a possibility, but I'm honestly shocked to see Dan Quinn get a head coaching job this cycle, especially with the Commanders of all teams. You know, I was just doing my NFL draft scouting notes and boom, Dan Quinn's gone and the Cowboys don't have a defensive coordinator. I do think that Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson deciding to return to their respective teams kinda got Quinn that job, but none of that matters now because the most important questions moving forward are: who will the Cowboys hire as their next defensive coordinator? When should we expect this news? And how does it change the outlook of this defense in 2024? Let's get into the video. There have already been a couple of names floating around since we always knew that Dan Quinn leaving was a possibility. And one of those was Joe Whitt Jr., the defensive passing game coordinator for the Cowboys that's been here since 2021. And I'm gonna be honest, right now there are a ton of conflicting reports about his chances being the Cowboys' next defensive coordinator, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Joe Whitt Jr. has long been tied to Mike McCarthy, going all the way back to 2008 in Green Bay. He's also been tied to Dan Quinn. They both arrived in Dallas at the same time, both coming from the Atlanta Falcons in 2021. He's been the Cowboys' defensive pass game coordinator for the past 3 years, but reports about him staying or leaving are all over the place. Some say he's the absolute favorite to land the defensive coordinator job in Dallas, while others say he's following Quinn to Washington. And to be honest, I lean more towards him being the DC in Dallas because those reports are coming from local reporters, and all the ones with him leaving are coming from national media that might not know as much from the outside. Regardless, he's an in-house option and one that the Joneses are definitely interested in keeping. We know that the Cowboys love having guys that know them, the players, the systems set in place, so we'll keep an eye on how that unfolds throughout today and the next few days. Another in-house name that has been tied to being the defensive coordinator in Dallas or leaving for Washington with Dan Quinn is Al Harris, the Cowboys secondary coach that has done a phenomenal job with the likes of Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. Like I said, he's another guy that Quinn might try to take with him to Washington, and it's a name that I would be really upset to see go because he's done such an awesome job with all the Cowboys cornerbacks, and Al Harris was actually a name that popped into my mind immediately when I saw this news. I think he'll be a defensive coordinator one day in the league. Will it be in 2024? I'm gonna lean towards no, but it's definitely not out of the question. Now let's look at a few outside hires. Ron Rivera, the most recent head coach for the Washington Commanders, who was fired right after the conclusion of the 2023 season. And Rivera is a name that has already been heavily linked to the Cowboys, saying that if Dan Quinn left, Rivera would be a favorite. Throughout his career, he's had some pretty good defenses, most notably when he was the head coach for the Panthers in 2015. But since leaving Carolina, Dak and the Cowboys have carved up every Rivera defense. He's not a bad defensive coordinator, and he seems like a guy that players want to play for. He seems like an awesome guy. But to me, there are more intriguing names both in-house and out than Ron Rivera. So can I offer you the name Mike Zimmer, someone that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have ties with. Zimmer served as a defensive assistant for the Cowboys and won a Super Bowl with the team in 1996. And although he's an older guy, he has had some damn good defenses throughout his career. I'm gonna be completely honest, I can't tell you much about Mike Zimmer other than he's a pretty big name that has been linked to good defenses and linked to the Cowboys. Our last name on this list is Mike Vrabel, the most recent head coach for the Tennessee Titans and maybe my favorite name on this list. Vrabel is a player's coach because he was a player himself. In my opinion, he carried a pretty poor Titans team for years. He's a good head coach, but is he still a really good defensive coordinator? Probably. The Cowboys have obvious talent on defense, and I think that Vrabel would probably get the most out of those guys. But is he up to par schematically with some of those Shanahan offenses? I'm not too sure, but I do think he's a guy that understands making adjustments, getting better every single year, and putting together a hell of a unit. Now, when are the Cowboys gonna make this hire? And in my opinion, you have to hire someone pretty soon. Many teams have already started their draft process, so it's important that you start looking now so you can get them all set, meet the scouts, dive into what this defense will look like in 2024. I would expect the team to have an announcement in the coming week to 2 weeks, and when it does break, I will have a video on this channel, so make sure you have those post notifications turned on and you are subscribed to us here at Double Move. Make sure you do all of that so you don't miss a single video. So what does all of this mean for the Cowboys defense in 2024? It alters who you draft, personnel decisions in free agency, player outlooks moving forward. It changes a lot, and that is certainly not always a bad thing. We wanted change on this Cowboys team. We wanted it with the defensive coordinator. We wanted it with the head coach. I thought that Dan Quinn had some rough performances this year. I thought there were schematic issues and inability to make adjustments on the fly. All coordinators like different player types, different skill sets. They have different visions of what a player can do. Obviously, if the Cowboys go with an in-house option, it shouldn't look drastically different than it did in 2023, but you'd see a few changes here and there, especially situational play calling and some personnel tweaks. For example, an outside hire probably won't play Marquise Bell at linebacker. He'll probably go back to being a safety, where I honestly think he would do pretty well. So with that, who do you want the Cowboys to hire as their next defensive coordinator? Are you looking in-house? Are you looking at an outside hire? Make sure you comment your answer down below. Who I think the Cowboys will hire is the top comment on this video. I'm going to be responding to as many comments as I possibly can, so make sure you leave your answer. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you later this week. Bye.